What's going on, Coldwater Nation? It's Geoff, and welcome back to another fly tying tutorial. Today, I'll be showing you how to tie a variation of the Pheasant Tail Nymph. Originally invented by Frank Sawyer in the 1950s to imitate a variety of mayfly species found in English chalk streams, Pheasant Tail Nymphs are one of the most universal fly patterns, being able to imitate a whole host of insect species outside of just mayflies. There are dozens of ways to tie pheasant tails, including some specifically designed for Euro-nymphing. All varieties of pheasant tail nymphs will catch fish, but today I will show you how to tie one of my personal favorite patterns. So without further ado, let's head over to the bench and get started.
Yeah. There he goes.
Oh my god, look at that! Look at that toe!
The squirmy worm is an effective and very deadly fly.
What's up, guys? My name's Brian,
And I'm Geoff.
and you're watching Empire Coldwater. Let's rip some lips.
This video is brought to you in part by Upstate Excursions and by Black Dog Outdoor Sports. To start, we will take a size 14 2XL nymph streamer hook and put a 7/32 inch slotted gold tungsten bead on that hook. Then I will get that combo settled into my vise with the shank of the hook nice and level. Next, I will take my 8/0 light brown thread and start my wraps directly behind the bead head. After taking a number of wraps down the shank of the hook, I will stop and snip off my excess thread. Then I will grab my thin gold wire and trim off a decent length of the wire from the spool. Keeping the wire parallel to the shank of the hook, I will make tight wraps as I continue down the shank of the hook to ensure I have the wire secure. Once the wire is secured in place, I will grab my pheasant tail feather and peel off 5 to 6 fibers from the tail feather and keep the tips aligned. I will then measure those fibers to be from about the back of the bead head to the bend of the hook. Then I will take a pinch wrap or two to secure the pheasant tail fibers in place before bending over the butts of the fibers and wrapping my thread up the shank of the hook almost to the bead head. Then I will wrap those fibers up the shank of the hook, maintaining even pressure and coverage as I create the thorax of the nymph. Once my wraps of pheasant tail fibers have caught up to my thread, I will tie them off securely before snipping away the excess. Now I will go back for my wire and take even wraps around the pheasant tail fibers to add segmentation as well as durability to the fly. Once my wraps of wire have caught up to my thread, I will tie off the wire securely by using a few tight wraps before using some figure 8 wraps to ensure the wire won't be pulled out easily. Figure 8 wraps are simply putting one wrap around the shank of the hook to one side of the material you are tying in before putting a wrap around the shank of the hook on the other side of the material you are tying in. The resulting motion should look like you're drawing a figure 8, and your wraps should overlap one another in a sort of crossing pattern. Once the wire is good and secured in place, I will helicopter off the excess before taking a few wraps to cover up any sharp edges left by the wire. Now we will move on to building up the body of the fly. First, I will grab 2 peacock hurls of roughly equal length and tie those in by their tips so that the excess is hanging out towards the tail of the fly. Next, I will take another 6 or so pheasant tail fibers and measure them to be about the length from the eye of the hook to the bend of the hook. Then, tie them in with the tips of the fibers facing the tail of the fly. Make sure to take wraps up to the bead to really ensure the fibers are tied in securely. Then, I trim off the excess of those pheasant tail fibers. After that, I will carefully wrap the peacock hurls up the remaining space of the body before tying it off with a few tight wraps and snipping off the excess. Next, I will fold over the pheasant tail fibers I tied in just before doing my wraps of peacock hurl, and take a few tight wraps directly behind the bead head to secure those fibers in place as well. This will create the wing casing of the fly. Those wraps should also leave the tips of the pheasant tail fibers splayed out over the top of your bead. From here, you'll want to carefully separate out the fibers in even groupings on each side before gently pulling those fibers back and taking wraps to hold them backwards to look like the legs of the Mayfly nymph. After all that has been completed, all that is left to do is a whip finish, cutting your thread away, and add a dab of head cement to your threads as well as a dab of head cement onto the pheasant tail fibers that form the wing casing. And there you have it, one completed pheasant tail nymph ready to go in your box for the upcoming Mayfly hatches.
We hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you like what you saw today, consider giving this video a thumbs up and subscribe for more.
Thanks for hanging out with us, and we'll see you next time.
Until then, tight lines, everybody.